If you've been a believer for a while, I'm sure you've heard about the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. There's often been confusion about what a talent is, and specifically what this parable is actually saying. Is a talent money, abilities, or something else? This parable references it as money, but is that the interpretation? It may be obvious about what it is generally saying, but what is it specifically saying? I think that there is a pattern in the Bible when it comes to parables. I think that whenever Jesus is talking about the kingdom of heaven, he means the same thing each time. And when he says weeping and gnashing of teeth, that it means hell. And when he says sowing seeds, that means that he is spreading the word of God. Using patterns like these, I think it would be easy to specifically interpret this parable, and I'd like to know if you agree. In Matthew chapter 25 it says, "Again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called a servant and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey." So in this parable, it says that the person who had 5 talents was able to multiply it and gain 5 more, which gave him 10. And the person who had 2 talents multiplied his, and he had 4. Well, the person who had 1 talent, he buried his, and then when the master came back, he wasn't very pleased with him. And in 28 through 30, it says, "Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he does have, will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth." When looking at this parable, keep in mind that before this parable is the parable of the 10 virgins, and after this parable is the parable of the sheep and goats. Similar to when he talks about the kingdom of heaven and gives several parables on that topic, I think he is talking about what we should do when he is away and the consequences of not doing it and the benefits of doing it in these 3 parables. But as we focus on the parable of the talents, I'm brought to the question of the day. What do you think a talent is referring to in this parable and why? If you have a thought on the matter, I'd love to hear from you. You can email your response at search@ktfproductions.com or respond with a text or video response wherever you watch this clip. Also, if you have a topic that you'd like covered on the show, please let me know. I think it is important to look at parables in the context of patterns. As Jesus refers to sheep and goats and wheat and chaff as metaphorical concepts that mean believers and unbelievers in whatever parable it's mentioned in, so I think the same practice can be used in this instance. I think a talent is the ability that God gives us to win souls. In this parable, the master says, "You knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed." Harvest means gathering the believers, and scattering seed means spreading the word. Well, in this context, I believe that the man who hid the talent didn't share Jesus with others, while the other 2 did and multiplied those who would be gathered. Anyway, that is my thought. I'd love to hear yours, so drop me an email and be sure to join me next time for another episode of Search With Me.